I am so glad to meet with you guys again today. I want to tell you a story about one of the most amazing men. His name is Walter Shui. He's a Canadian from Taiwan, and the way we met is one of those crazy God stories. We had left Taiwan after 2 years in Taiwan, working at the hospital, a little bit of language study. We get to Indonesia and we do a year of language study there, and then we move to the city where we're going to work in. The name of the city is Solo. It's the best city I've ever lived in for a name. Solo, S-O-L-O. I mean, you couldn't get a better name for a city. It was wonderful. So we're in Solo, but Sandy and I are crashing and burning on so many fronts. We are worn out, we're exhausted, everything seems to be going wrong. And Sandy's dad says, I want to put you in touch with someone that might be in your area you could get some encouragement from. I actually don't know where it came from. It might not have been Sandy's dad, it might have been someone else. But somehow Sandy and I heard about this guy named Walter Shui. Walter Shui. Walter was his English name, Shui is his Chinese name. Shui means water. Well, in the city of Solo, at the time, there were like 30 engineers from Canada. They were all water engineers. They were doing a study on the Solo River, on how to keep it from flooding, how to dam it properly, how to do this or that. And we met with some of the engineers, and they basically said, this report will go on the shelf like all the other reports and nothing will ever happen. And so we thought, we're missionaries. We'll try and reach out and connect with these people. Well, their chief of station, their top guy, actually was standing on the dam one day and fell off the dam and died. So there was a Canadian missionary in town that went to all the Canadians and said, can we help you guys? Could we be a fellowship for you? Would you like to come to a Christian fellowship of any sort? No, we left Canada to be completely away from the church. We want nothing to do with you. Get away from us. Wow. That poor Canadian friend, and he's a good guy. Let me tell you, he's a very good guy. He backed off and he didn't push it, but it was really kind of shocking. These guys came from Canada basically to get away from the church and to get away from anything that reminded them of their Christian faith or world or whatever. Well, then we heard there was a Chinese couple on the team. The husband was an engineer and he was on the team, and they would go to the Chinese church in town. So then we found out they lived like a block and a half away from us, just around the corner. So Sandy, one day, I was off teaching at the Bible school or somewhere, and Sandy decided to pay him a visit. So she walks up to Walter and Grace Shui's house, and she knocks on the door, and Grace answers the door, and she goes in Chinese, "How are you?" "Fine, thank you." "I am from the Ye family." And Grace goes, "Oh, the Ye family. Did you have a mother named Valborg and she had 2 grandchildren named Leif and Paul?" Sandy is going, "That's my husband's family. That's my husband's grandmother. Those are my husband's brothers." And Sandy's going, "How do you know them?" And she goes, "Well, we lived in Pingdong, Taiwan, and your father and family worked in our town, and we knew your family." So Sandy has to dig for more. And she finds out that Walter, her husband, was an engineer. He was trained as an engineer from China, and he was my father's translator. And he knew my oldest brother Leif and my brother Paul. They knew everything about our family. They're living a block and a half away from our house in Indonesia when we're collapsing in exhaustion and confusion. Grace started inviting us over to her house every Tuesday night, but Grace didn't cook. She didn't cook for us. Walter cooked. Walter said, "My dream in life is when I retire, I get to cook all the food I've always dreamed of." We had the most amazing dinners. He was practicing for retirement. He cooked my favorite dish, Hui Guo Rou, back to the kettle pork. It's basically pork fat. Don't tell any of my Messianic friends or anybody else that has a problem with pork, but it was like the most awesome pork dish you could ever get. He would do other dishes. And Walter and Grace became our uncle and aunt, or grandma and grandpa, for the next few years in Indonesia. Well, I was working and trying to deal with all the issues of life in Indonesia. And I would come to Walter and I'd say, Walter, I can't take it. It's too much. There's so much going on. I don't know what to do. And one time he looked at me and he said, Finn, the boat will make it under the bridge. I go, Walter, what does that mean? Tell me what that means. And he goes, he knew I'd never been to Vienna, but he had been to Vienna. He'd been everywhere. Amazing guy. And he goes, Finn, in Vienna, you have the gondolas. And the gondolas, they're rowing along and they're taking all the tourists around the town. But they have to get under the bridge in front. And everybody thinks the gondola front, the prow, whatever you call that point in the front, will hit the bridge and crack the gondola in pieces. And he goes, Finn, the gondola will make it under the bridge. You worry about too much, Finn. Relax. The boat will make it under the bridge. And I'll tell you what, it sounded so simple and so easy, but I've held on to that for all these years. Walter Shui, thank you. You helped me get through many years of where I thought the gondola was going to hit the bridge and everything was going to fall apart. And because of God, it always made it under, and whatever he planned worked out. And we had the most awesome couple for many years, Walter and Grace Shui. We got to visit them a few times after they retired in Vancouver. And it was like God gave us family that we needed. Thank you, God.